You followed the traditional blueprint. You got the degree, you landed the corporate job, you cut back on your spending. And yet, every time you look at the US or UK housing market, the goalposts move further away. It feels like you're playing a game where the rules change every single day. And that's because you are. The system didn't tell you that your salary is being devalued by inflation faster than you can save it. It didn't tell you that the assets, the houses, the stocks, the businesses are being bought up while you're still figuring out how to get started. You are being systematically priced out of asset ownership. Not by bad luck, not by laziness, by design. In this video, we are stopping the clock. We are going to look at your financial reality, look at the math they hid from you, and show you exactly how to flip the board, not with hype, not with a get-rich-quick scheme, with the facts they never taught you in school. Chapter 1. The blueprint they sold you. Let's start at the beginning. Somewhere along the line, society handed you a blueprint. Study hard, get good grades, go to university, get a stable job, save money, buy a house, retire at 65. Simple, right? For a while it actually worked. In the 1970s and 80s, a factory worker in the UK could afford a semi-detached house on a single income. In America, the average home cost about 2 to 3 times the average annual salary. The blueprint made sense. In 1975, the average UK house price was around £10,388. The average salary was roughly £3,100. That's about 3 times your annual income for a house. A stretch, but achievable. Today, the average house in the UK costs around 9 times the average salary nationally. In London, we're talking 12 to 14 times. And in cities like San Francisco or New York, it's worse. The blueprint didn't update, but the world did. And here's the thing most people never ask. Who benefited from keeping you on the old blueprint? Because someone always benefits. We'll come back to that. But first, let me show you the maths they buried. If you enjoy deep financial breakdowns like this, subscribe to Elite Wealth Hub, because we cover the money stories that most channels are too comfortable to touch. Chapter 2. The inflation lie. Alright, here's where it gets interesting. You've been told that inflation is around 2 to 3%. That's the official target. That's what central banks like the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England repeat like a mantra. But let me ask you this. When did a 2% inflation rate last feel accurate to your actual life? The Consumer Price Index, the CPI, is the government's official measure of inflation. But here's what they don't tell you. It doesn't weight your actual spending the way you actually spend. Housing costs are dramatically underweighted. Childcare, energy, the stuff that actually eats your salary alive. Between 2020 and 2023, UK food prices rose by over 25%. Energy bills in the UK doubled. In the United States, rent in major cities jumped 20 to 30% in just 2 years. But the official inflation number, it peaked at around 9 or 10%, and then, according to the statistics, it came back down. This is the bit that breaks people's brains. Inflation coming down doesn't mean prices go back down. It means they're rising slightly more slowly. The price of a loaf of bread that cost £1 in 2019 now costs £1.60, and it's staying there, permanently. Your salary adjusts for official inflation, not real inflation. Not the inflation you actually feel. So every year, even with a pay rise, you are falling behind, and this isn't a conspiracy. This is structural. This is the architecture of the system. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But here's the part that changes everything. Inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. In fact, for a certain group of people, inflation is a wealth generator. Who? We're getting there. Chapter 3. Why assets win and wages lose. Let me introduce you to a concept that changes how you see money forever. There are 2 kinds of value in this world: income and assets. Most people spend their whole lives chasing income, salary increases, promotions, side hustles. But the wealthy, the genuinely wealthy, focus almost exclusively on one thing: assets. Assets are things that hold or grow in value over time. Real estate, stocks, businesses, land, even intellectual property. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Since 2009, asset prices have massively outpaced wages. The S&P 500 grew by over 500% between 2009 and 2024. The median US wage? It grew by roughly 60% in the same period. And when you adjust for inflation, Real wage growth is closer to 20 to 25%. So if you were in assets, you multiplied your wealth fivefold. If you were in wages, you barely kept pace. Now ask yourself, why did this happen? This is where the story changes. After the 2008 financial crisis, central banks around the world did something unprecedented. They slashed interest rates to near zero and pumped trillions of dollars into the global economy through a program called quantitative easing, QE for short. The idea was to stimulate spending, lending, and economic recovery. And it worked, just not in the way most people expected. All that cheap money flowed straight into assets, stocks, property, private equity, not into wages, not into the real economy. The people who already owned assets got richer. The people who were saving for their first asset, priced out. Now that's the kind of question that keeps economists arguing. But what's undeniable is the result, and almost nobody noticed until it was too late. If you're finding this valuable so far, hit like. It genuinely helps us keep making content like this. Chapter 4. The debt trap nobody talks about. Okay, so you understand inflation. You understand assets versus wages. But there's a third layer to this, and it might be the most insidious of all. Debt. Not all debt is equal. That's something the financial system understands incredibly well, and that most individuals don't. There's wealth-building debt, a mortgage on a property that appreciates, a business loan, an investment in education that genuinely increases earning power. And then there's wealth-destroying debt, credit cards. Payday loans, buy dash now dash pay dash later schemes. Car finance on a depreciating asset. In 2024, total U.S. consumer debt hit $17.5 trillion. Credit card debt alone crossed $1.1 trillion for the first time in history. In the UK, personal debt sits at around £1.8 trillion. These are not abstract numbers, these are chains. Here's the cruel elegance of how the debt trap works. You take out a student loan to get the degree the system told you to get. You get the job. But the job doesn't quite cover rent in the city where the job is. So you put expenses on a credit card. The credit card charges you 24% APR. The savings account you're trying to build pays you maybe 4 to 5%. You are mathematically losing every single month before you've bought a single coffee. And the system that created this, it profits from it. The banks, the lenders, the financial products designed specifically to extract small amounts from millions of people continuously. Not evil necessarily, just architecture. A machine running exactly as designed. Would you take out a loan to gamble on a coin flip? Of course not. But millions of people are doing something structurally identical every time they carry a high-interest balance. The question is, what do you do about it? Chapter 5. The people who broke the pattern. Alright, we've spent the last 10 minutes explaining exactly why the system is stacked. Now let's talk about the people who figured it out, because they exist. And they don't all have trust funds. Some of them started exactly where you are. The pattern among people who break out of the income-only trap almost always looks the same. First, they stop treating saving as their primary financial strategy. Let that land for a moment, because it contradicts everything you were told. Saving is essential, but saving alone in a low-interest account against real inflation is a slow loss. The people who break the cycle understand that you don't build wealth by accumulating currency. You build it by converting currency into assets. Second, they understand the concept of compound returns, and they start early. In 1995, if you had put just £200 a month into a simple FTSE 100 index fund, by 2024 you'd have contributed around £68,000 of your own money. But the actual value of the account? Closer to £200,000 to £250,000, depending on the precise timing. The money you didn't put in did most of the work. That's compounding. And it doesn't care whether you're rich or poor. It only cares whether you start. Third, the people who break the pattern become obsessive about the difference between appearing wealthy and building wealth. There is an entire industry designed to extract money from you the moment you start earning more. New car, luxury flat, designer clothes, status spending. The trap is subtle because it feels like reward. You worked hard, you deserve it, and maybe you do. But the question is, what does it cost you in compounding time? A £30,000 car at 30 could cost you £150,000 or more at 60. The same money, invested, that number is uncomfortable. Good, it should be. This isn't about deprivation. Nobody is saying live like a monk. But the people who break the cycle are ruthlessly clear on one thing: assets first. They buy the asset before the luxury. Always. Without exception. Chapter 6. The actual framework. So what does this actually look like in practice? Not theoretically, actually. Let's talk framework, because information without application is just entertainment. Phase 1. Stabilize. Before anything else, before investment, before assets, you eliminate the wealth-destroying debt. High-interest credit cards, payday loans, anything above 10% APR. This is not optional. This is not up for debate. You cannot build a foundation on sand. Simultaneously, build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, not in stocks, not in crypto. In a high-yield savings account, liquid and boring. This is your psychological foundation. Without it, the first unexpected expense sends you back to square one. Phase 2. Convert. Once you're stable, you start converting income into assets. For most people starting out, the most accessible entry point is index funds. Not individual stocks, not complex derivatives. Simple, diversified, low-fee index funds tracking the S&P 500 or global market equivalents. In the UK, you do this through an ESEC. In the US, a Roth IRA or 401k. Tax-efficient wrappers that the government actually built for this exact purpose, and that most people leave empty. Automate the contribution. Pay yourself first. Not what's left over, first. Even if it starts at £50 or $100 a month, start. Because the most expensive thing you will ever buy is the time you didn't invest. Phase 3. Expand. As your income grows, your asset base grows proportionally. Property, business equity, real estate investment trusts, private investments, these become options. Not because you're special, but because you've built the platform. The game becomes different when you own assets that generate income independently of your labor. That's not passive income in the Instagram guru sense. That's what financial independence actually means. Your money working while you sleep. None of this is secret. None of it requires a finance degree. It requires understanding, consistency, and the willingness to play a longer game than most people are willing to play. Conclusion. The real answer. Let's go back to the beginning. You followed the blueprint. You did everything right. And the system, the actual architecture of wages, inflation, asset prices, and debt was never designed with your financial freedom as the priority. The system wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you productive. That's not cynicism, that's clarity, and clarity is the beginning of change. The people who break out don't do it by working harder within the old blueprint. They do it by understanding the new one. By seeing the game as it actually is, not as they were told it would be. You are not broke because you're lazy. You're not broke because you're stupid. You're not broke because you didn't try hard enough. You are financially stuck because you were handed a map that stopped being accurate 20 years ago. The goal hasn't changed. Financial security, freedom, a life not defined entirely by a salary from someone else. But the route has changed, dramatically, and now you know why. The question isn't whether this system is fair. It isn't. The question is what you do next, knowing what you know now. Because the best time to understand this was 20 years ago, the second best time is right now. If this video changed how you see your financial situation, and I genuinely hope it did, send it to one person in your life who needs to hear it. Not because it helps the algorithm. Because this is information that actually matters. We'll see you in the next one.